president now is ousted, and maybe the only thing that remains of him is to follow the legal suits in our court of justice to see if he's going to survive what has been developed. Has been up in the Senate, and the MPs actually ousted him a few days ago. But the residents here of Naivasha have actually expressed their anger in regard to this, and they will be giving their views in what it is that they have to say. Naibu Rais aliyekuwa ameshaondolewa kitini. Jitambulishe jina lako na utueleze maoni yako ni gani ukiwa mkazi wa Naivasha.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Samuel Ndogi, aka baba yao. Kwa maoni yangu ninaona ya kwamba yale yaliendelea jana, tunaona ya kwamba si Senate walifanya kutoka kwa roho zao. Senate ilifuata mkubwa wao na ambaye ni president wa Kenya. Ya pili, sisi kama wakaaji wa Naivasha, na sana sana ingawa mimi kwanza nilikuwa wa Azimio, sikuwa nimewachagua hawa watu, juu mimi nilikuwa nimeona mbele. Mingi vile ningetaka kusema ni ya kwamba President William Ruto, yenye umefanya hata Mungu atalipisha. Mwanaume hawezi kusaidia na mali yake, akusaidie kuteswa na serikali yenye ilikuweko na dakika ya mwisho umuangushe. Chenye umetenda hata kama si wewe utalipisha, watoto wako lazima watalipishiwa na Mwenyezi Mungu atalipishia Gachagua. Nikiongezea niseme ya kwamba kulingana na sheria ya Kenya, mtu akiwa ameadmitiwa hospitali hata kama ako na kesi aina gani, kesi huwa inasimamishwa mpaka yule mtu atakapotoka hospitalini. Ya pili, alikuwa amepewa masaa mawili ya kujitetea. Wakati alikonjeka alikimbishwa hospitali na tukaconfirm, na nyinyi pia mkaconfirm kama masenate ya kwamba deputy president amepelekwa hospitalini. Mbona mkafanya tendo la kumdhulumu kama deputy president? Saizi already wakati Kingi alitangaza ya kwamba deputy president ameimpeachiwa, nasikia mliondoa polisi wote, security mlimnyang'anya, nyumba kwake Karen mkaanza kumuhamisha. Kwa hivyo hii ni kitu ambayo mlikuwa mmepanga kama masenate. Na wakati tulipokuwa tunafuatilia kesi ambayo ilikuwa imeletwa na mtu anaitwa Mutuse, kusema ukweli hata mtoto wa nasari mwejanjaida primary school aliyasikia yale mastaka na akaona ya kwamba zile ni propaganda, ni drama, ni urevi, ni bangi zilikuwa zinaendelea pale katika yule. Kwa hivyo ile kitu mimi ningetaka kusema ya kwamba bwana deputy president, mahara ulipo, not a former. For me, he is a deputy president. It is not a former. Atakuwa former akienda kotini, koti muondoe. So tuko na hope na koti.
Lakini kumeshawekwa gazettement tayari, kikao cha bunge kinaingia saa 3:30 cha kujadili mstakabali wa taifa kwa naibu rais atakaye
kuweka kwa gazeti. Ni mambo mengi imekuwa ikiwekwa kwa gazeti hata wakati wa President Moi, President Kibaki, President Uhuru, kuna mambo ilikuwa inawekwa kwa gazeti, lakini ukienda kotini, koti inasimamisha hayo mambo. So chenye tunatarajia kwa saa hizi, tunatarajia kutoka kotini ya kwamba deputy president ataendelea kuwa deputy president up to 2027.
Yep. Na endapo kutaenda vile ambavyo labda hautarajii, ungependekeza nani akakue naibu rais?
For me, kukienda vile kutaenda, ningeomba wanaume ama wamama, viongozi wote wa Mount Kenya, tafadhali msikubali kuchukua hiyo kiti. Kwa maoni yangu vile ningesema, wacha Ruto hiyo kiti either ape Sudi ama ipeleke Kisumu ama ipe Mudavadi. Sisi kwa Mount Kenya hatutaki hiyo kiti. Yes.
Asante, wacha tusikie mkazi mwingine. Ndugu, karibia hapa, jina lako, alafu kanyanga pale chini, kanyanga pale.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Peter. Kwa majina yangu naitwa Peter Geshero, mimi mkaaji wa Naivasha. Na kwa maoni yangu sijaona hiyo kitu ikuwa poa ya kuimpeach deputy president ya kuwa kwa hosi. Juu alikuwa na masaa mawili mbele ya Senate kuja kujitetea. Na kulingana na vile tunajua sheria, huwezi ukasimama mbele ya mahakama uko unaumwa na tumbo, ukiwa unahara, ukiwa unatapika, huwezi ukahukumiwa. Tunaonaga jaji hata ukienda uchukue mkono useme huwezi kwa kesi, wewe uko mgonjwa, jaji anakupiga ruhusa na ilisha hiyo kesi yako mpaka kwanza unatibiwa. Sasa tunaona sio haki kuhukumu Gachagua akiwa kwa hospitali. Na tunaona President Ruto amekosea nchi na amekosea wananchi wa Kenya. Juu sasa tunaona hata katiba anakeuka. Anatumia pesa zetu vibaya, kulipa wabunge, kulipa Senate, ndio yeye mambo yake ifikie venye anataka. Sasa tunaona mwenye anatakiwa impeachwe first ni Ruto juu anatumia ofisi yake vibaya. Sina maoni mengine.
Ngoja kidogo. Tayari washafanya gazettement. Na mwendo wa saa 3:30 kutakuwa na kikao maalum cha wabunge kuweza kujadili mambo haya na pengine kupendekeza atakaye kuwa akichukua nafasi ya naibu rais. Wewe unaweza pendekeza nani na ushauri gani pengine ukiwa mkazi unaweza toa kwa rais?
Mimi mwenye naweza tabua akuwe vice president wangu ni mwenye nilipea kura. Wengine mimi nasema ni project ya serikali na wabunge na senate. Hiyo ni vice president wao. Sisi mwenye tulichagua washamtoa na hajamtoa kwa ile njia inafaa. Sisi hatujaona makosa yake. Tulijiangalilia bunge ya senate yote, maswali wakiulizwa inawalemea zingine. Sasa hii kumtoa akiwa kwa kitanda, hii sheria inapitisha usiku. Hii nchi ni ya watu wengi, more than 50 millions, lakini inakontroliwa na watu hajafika 500. Watu hana huruma na sisi. Sasa mimi naona mwenye watachagua akiwa vice president, hiyo ni project yao. Sisi hatutamtabua kama Wakenya ama wakaji wa Naivasha, hatutamtabua kama vice president yetu. Hata asikuja kutuhutubia, hatumjui.
Kwa sababu kwa makosa 11, kosa la kwanza, la 4, 5, 6 na 9, Seneti walisema kwamba alipatikana na hatia na ndiposa wakaweza kuamua vile waliamua. Hakika kwamba mambo yote yalikuwa shwari?
Hiyo mambo yote haikuwa sawa juu mwenye alikuwa arudisha hiyo maswali ya makosa yake hakuwa hapo. Bwana Gachagua alikuwa akuje, President Gachagua alikuwa akuje astakiwe, alikuwa amepewa masaa 2 na katiba ya kujitetea. Hiyo masaa 2 ya katiba nani alirudisha maswali ya Gachagua? Juu hata mawakili walikataa, walisimamisha kazi yao, wakasema hawawezi wakaendelea na kesi kanya mwenye kesi hayuko hapo. Maswali ya Gachagua ilirudishwa na nani ndio ahukumiwe?
Lakini si walichukua muda mwingi sana kunukuu vifungo vya Biblia kuzungumzia masuala kama hayo.
Ile kitu nikataka kujua ni kosa gani hili Gachagua alikuwa amefanya, halingeweza kumngojea siku 2-3 apone. Ni kosa gani hili hangegojea, hawangegojea? Ni kosa gani hili? Kama makoti zenyewe zetu zinatuhukumu za kawaida, zinakupea time mpaka upone ndio kuja mbele ya mahakama. Hii siku 2-3 tujue afya ya Gachagua, hawangegojea kwa nini? Kwa hivyo tunaona hili chetu venye tunatawaliwa utawala wa mabafu. Na hiyo Mungu anaona. Auwe afanye nini hata yeye siku yake inafika.
Ndugu, asante. Maoni yako ndugu. Jina kwanza.
Kwa majina anaitwa Samuel Kamau, mkaaji wa Naivasha. Kwa maoni yangu venye ningesema ni kitu ambacho hatujafurahia. Okay. Ni kitu ambacho hatujafurahia kama wakaaji wa Naivasha kulingana na wakati wa uchaguzi ambavyo tulivyojitokeza na tukasherehekea sana, ambapo tuliona mwenzetu Mr. Gachagua wakiwa pamoja na Samuel Arap Ruto. Tukafurahia sana sababu kwetu kitu ya kwanza tulisema tunalipa deni, ambapo rais wetu alishikana na former president Uhuru Kenyatta, na tukasema hatutawahi kosa kulipa deni. Cha kushangaza ni kuwa tumelipa deni lakini tumeachwa na mshangao, maana imefika tu siku chache tu, miaka 2 bila ya kujua naibu wa rais ambaye ni wameshamuondoa Rigathi Gachagua. Hatujajua kiini hasa cha kufanya kumtoa kwa kiti, lakini imekuwa wakati wameleta mjadala bungeni, tumeona amejaribu sana kueleza kila kitu, lakini ukiangalia vizuri kwa maoni ya wenye walikuwa wanatoa maoni pale, yeye Gachagua akiongea maneno yake kwa undani kabisa, lakini kwa wale wengine yenye walikuwa natoa ni kutoka kwa mtu mwingine, sababu unaona kila mtu ana ushahidi na chenye anasema. Tumemwona huyo MP wa huko mwenye alileta hiyo mjadala akiulizwa maswali kule na Senate akashindwa hata kujibu, na ingine akisema hajui. Sijui ni nini hiki kimefika mahali wakaona ushahidi. Na ningetaka kuuliza sana huyu mwenye alisema Gachagua na maneno yake yote, ningetaka kujua alianza kumchunguza tangu mwaka gani ya kuja ajue shida zote za Gachagua, mpaka wakati wanasema Gachagua ameenda mpaka ng'ambo, ndugu yake akiwa mgonjwa na akaenda sijui kuandika will. Hiyo yote walikuwa wanachunguza wakiwa wapi? Kitu cha pili, yani ujumbe wangu inataka ifikie Mr. President. Si ati tumefurahi, na sisi ni wale tu utatupata hapa. Na tunajua kulingana na serikali yenye iko ni kama serikali ambayo haina nafasi ya mtu kuongea, sababu kishaongea wewe sio mtu. Wanataka uongee chenye wanataka wao. Sisi kama wananchi sisi tunafurahia sana na yale maisha tunaishi, maana hata pesa tunatafuta lakini hata haitutoshi. Tunafanya kazi usiku na mchana lakini bado hata tusongi mbele.
Labda nikuulize, ungependekeza nani ikiwa hali itaenda vile ilivyokuwa awe naibu rais kwa rais wetu?
Kwa maoni yangu mimi ningeweza sema upande watu wa mlima, kitu ya kwanza tuache hizo tamaa safisi. Atukiona mwenzako amenyolewa na wewe umekimbia pale ukidhani wewe utanyolewa, wacha mwenyewe president atafute mtu mahali pengine. Mauti Kenya naweza pongeza sana. Msitake hizo kiti sababu ni muda tu chache mtakuja alafu na nyinyi mpakwe matope.
So aeze labda nani, kumekuwa na mapendekezo mengi pale, gavana wa Homa Bay, gavana wa Kirinyaga, kumekuwa na gavana Irungu Kang'ata, kumekuwa na mapendekezo mengi sijui.
Sana hata ningeza sema hivi, Mr. Kang'ata, tunaona kazi yenye unafanya na watu wako wanajua ile kazi unafanya. The more utapelekwa pale ndio utafurahia, lakini baada ya siku chache baka watu wako watakuja kukukataa. Kitu ya kwanza wafanyie kazi sababu unapata lishe, wachana na hizo viti kubwa. Wacha Mr. President wewe mwenyewe ajichagulie mrithi wake wa chini, sababu mkimchagulia bado siku chache atakuja kusema sio mzuri.
Asante sana ndugu, acha tumalizie na wewe, karibia tu hapa. Jina lako na utueleze maoni yako kufuatia lile ambalo liendelea jana pale Seneti.
Kwanza mimi majina naitwa Daniel. Ni mkazi wa hapa Naivasha. Kitu ya kwanza mimi kwa pendekezo langu ningesema hasa tudumishe amani katika nchi yetu, kwa sababu nchi ni ya muhimu sana na walioko ni watu wa maana sana kuliko hii siasa. Kwa hivyo mimi siwezi ni kalaumu yeyote, sababu jambo lolote likifanyika hata Biblia inasemanga inakuwa na sababu. Kama pengine mtu anachukulia kulikuwa na chuki,
them talking about how they still feel the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, is still the Deputy President and will be continuing to sample your feedback. You can continue talking to us. Number 2047 is our SMS number. 0793-267-279 is our WhatsApp number. Your thoughts on the impeachment, a historic moment for the country. Let's cross over to Horace Olo, who is our boots on ground in Nyeri County. Horace Olo, a very historic moment, particularly for that county because Rigathi Gachagua comes from that county. Are residents opposing or proposing for this impeachment? What are they saying?
Naam, shukran sana, bila shaka na kupata vema sana nikiwa katika eneo hili la Karatina, na katika eneo hili la Karatina shughuli za kawaida zinaendelea. Wafanyabiashara wa Kenya wanaoenda kwenye shughuli zao mbalimbali tayari wapo eneo hili. Shughuli za kawaida zinaendelea, kuna utulivu wa hali ya juu zaidi, ila tu ningependa tu kuweza kuchukua maoni kutoka kwa wakazi wakati huu ambapo tunazungumzia kubanduliwa kwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua. Manake hapa ndiko katika eneo hili, katika bunge hili la Madhira ndiko anakotokea alikuwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua. Lakini badala tu ya kupoteza ama bila kupoteza muda, niruhusu tu niweze kuzungumza na baadhi ya wakazi hapa kuweza tukutaka kujua hisia kutoka kwao kuhusiana na hili swala baada ya Rigathi Gachagua kubanduliwa na seneti hapo jana usiku. Wewe kama Mkenya kutoka eneo hili la Madhira unahisi vipi?
Sisi kulingana na watu hapa Karatina hapa Madhira, sisi tumeamiana na hiyo kitu imeendelea kufanya ni ya kutangatua huyo deputy wetu Rigathi Gachagua. Sisi tuko sawa, tutaki mambo ingine. Hiyo kitu sasa ipelekwe mahali ingine, ipelekwe huko Rift Valley ama ipelekwe huko Bondo. Sisi hatutaki hiyo mambo ya kiti tena. Hapana. Hiyo kitu imetuchokesha kabisa.
Na sasa hivi tunazungumzia hali ilivyo sasa hivi. Kuna wale viongozi ambao wanasemekana wanaweza akachukua nafasi hiyo, wanaweza wakaapishwa kama naibu wa rais. Wewe kati ya viongozi wale ambao wanatajwa katika eneo hili, kuna kwa mfano Waziri Kindiki, kuna gavana wa pale Murang'a, gavana wa pale Murang'a na baadhi na hata ule wa Kirinyaga Anne Waiguru. Wewe unahisi kwamba ni yupi ambaye anaweza akachukua kile kiatu cha naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua?
Kulingana na maoni yangu, hiyo kiti kwa sababu ilikuwa ya deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, hawa watu wengine mimi sioni mtu mwenye anatakiwa kupatiwa hiyo kiti kwa hapa mlima. Kulingana na maoni yangu, mimi sitaki mwenye anapewa hiyo kiti kwa huku mlima, ama wapatie huyu mtu anaitwa sijui anamuita nani mwenye niliona hapo, naitwa nani huyo? Kuna mwenye nilikuwa naona hapo amesema ndio wanataka kupatia huyo Mudavadi, wampatie huyo Mudavadi, waachane. Sisi watu wa mlima sisi tuko sawa. Tutajipaga hapo bereni, tutajua vile tutakaa.
Naam, bila shaka wakazi wapo hapa na kile ambacho wanazungumzia kama jinsi unavyoona, labda mpiga picha wangu anaweza akakuonyesha katika sehemu hii. Ukiangalia shughuli za kawaida zinaendelea kama kawaida, wakazi wapo kwenye biashara zao za kila siku. Na labda ukiniruhusu tu niweze kuzungumza na mwingine hapa. Kaka, ukisogea tu hapa, wewe kama Mkenya katika eneo hili unahisi vipi kuhusiana na kubanduliwa kwa Rigathi Gachagua?
Mimi kama Mkenya, mimi tuko na jambo moja tu, tumemalizana na hao mambo. Tumeona hao viongozi tulichagua wanaenda wanatuwakilisha kulingana na fikra zao, sio kwa maoni ya raia ama na huku manyumbani ama mama mboga wenye walikuwa wanasema. Kwa hivyo hiyo kiti mwenye watapea, mwenye wameangusha ndio hao ma MP ndio watajua mwenye watapea.
Na labda unaona mwelekeo wa kisiasa katika eneo hili ukiwa vipi?
Kwa saa hii hakuna mwelekeo huku tumekuwa desperate sana, hata tunaanza kuregret. Tunashuku hawa viongozi wetu na tunataka tuongeleshe huyu mbunge wa huku kwetu, tumwambie sababu tulimchagua na roho moja, akaenda huko akatoa maoni kulingana na fikra zake. Huku hatumtaki hapa Karatina.
Naam, bila shaka hayo tu ni baadhi ya maoni ya wakazi katika eneo hili, na kama jinsi unavyosikia wameweza kusikitika pakubwa kuhusiana na swala la kubanduliwa kwa Rigathi Gachagua. Na sasa kama wanavyosema ni kwamba wao wanahisi kwamba kulingana nao hatua hiyo haijawafurahisha, na wanahisi kwamba hatua hiyo ilikuwa katili kwa Rigathi Gachagua. Na kwa maoni yao wanahisi, wengine wao wanahisi kwamba swala la naibu wa rais sasa hivi kwao halina umuhimu mkubwa zaidi wakati huu tunapozungumzia sasa kumpata atakayechukua nafasi yake Rigathi Gachagua katika ofisi ya naibu wa rais. Lakini tutakuwa tunazidi kufuatilia hali ilivyo katika eneo hili. Tutakuwa tunazidi kuzungumza na wakazi ili kupata kujua hisia zao kuhusiana na swala la kubanduliwa kwa Gachagua, na bila shaka katika taarifa zetu zijazo tutakuwa tunakuletea mengi zaidi nikiwa hapa eneo la Karatina katika eneo bunge la Madhira, kaunti hii ya Nyeri. Kwako studioni.
Asante sana Horace Oloo, asante sana kwa maoni hayo, na tutaendelea kupata mengi from you hapo Karatina and generally even from the Mount Kenya region, just to understand what the residents are saying there, and not only from the Mount Kenya region, the whole country at large. Keep talking to us just to sample what you have been telling us. On Facebook, at TV47KE, Jenzi says, impeach the driver also. Dick Radius says, unfair, but they laughed at us. Paul Gifted, politics is a dirty game full of hatred and betrayal. Nimejifunza hivyo. Someone here says, Harun Ruto amepata nafasi mzuri sasa ya kuchunga Brima aende kabisa. Final one here as we take a short break. MCN 2032. Ruto akimaliza mwenye ataingia mtanza kusema heri Ruto. 30 minutes past the top of the hour. Keep talking to us. What are you thinking about this particular impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua? Also, even as we get into the Mashujaa Day kind of mood, who are you celebrating this Mashujaa Day? Tuambie, endelea kutuambia. Tukirudi, we'll be sampling more of your feedback. DJ Granite is on the ones and twos. He's on standby. Usiende mbali.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
We continue breaking it down for you in case you already slept and you slept early last night. Just to sample what the senators had to say, what the residents had to say. Right now, I want to take you all the way to Senate just to preview what was said yesterday. First off, starting with Senator Enoch Wambua, what he was saying. Let's listen in.
And why my colleagues call me Bishop, others call me Pastor. The Speaker, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19, from verse 18 to 19. It says that the judges shall inquire diligently, and if the witness is a false witness and has accused his brother falsely, then you, the judges, shall do to him as he had meant to do to his brother. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Mr. Speaker, I did not know that I would be a senator in Kenya at such a time as this, being called upon to judge between the National Assembly and the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya through a motion brought here by one Honorable Mwengi Mutuse. But Mr. Speaker, here we are, and where duty calls, I will answer the call with courage and guided by a deep desire for that which is good for our nation. Mr. Speaker, I would have expected that the crumbling relationships within the Kenya Kwanza administration would perhaps have been handled within their PG or their NEC and resolved there. But because they have chosen this path, Mr. Speaker, they have made their bed, they must lie on it. Mr. Speaker, the mover of the impeachment motion must have a very dim view of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. He comes to us with innuendos, falsehoods, sensational statements, and dropping of numbers without a shred of evidence. Mr. Speaker, he begins his own illustration by saying sometimes in 2023. He goes on, Mr. Speaker, to speak about at another forum in September 2024. Mr. Speaker, we are debating an impeachment motion of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. The least that these judges would have expected, the least that this country would have expected, is due diligence on the mover of the motion.
Right, that is Gitu Senator Enoch Wambua just giving his remarks on that. Now, on the 13th of September 2022, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua knelt down together with his wife, with President William Ruto, in prayer. More than 2 years later, on the 17th of October 2024, he was having other prayers so that he could get better and he could regain his office back after being impeached. But who is Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua? Let's take a look at his profile now.
For a man who shoots straight from the hip when defending his people of the mountain and the government's agenda, when he appears after a week-long hiatus, accompanied by his family, holds a church service at the DP residence, and even issues an apology to his boss, President William Ruto, members of parliament and Kenyans, you know it is not business as usual. A sharp contrast for a man who only 2 years ago, minutes after taking oath of office as second in command,
Rigathi Gachagua
had come out guns blazing, much to the chagrin of some of the attendees. Since his assumption to the position of Deputy President, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua has not shied away from speaking his mind. The truthful man, as he likes to call himself, received accolades and faced criticism in equal measure. Gachagua received sharp criticism from Kenyans and a section of leaders over his shareholders' remarks in February 2023. DP Gachagua had at the time declared that government appointments and contracts are a preserve of those who voted for the Kenya Kwanza government. However, a week later, President Ruto termed the remarks as, quote, primitive and backward for anyone to imagine that any region of Kenya cannot get development on account of how they voted.
Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta.
Rigathi trailed his guns on the former administration of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. Rigathi even claiming that the Kenya Kwanza administration found empty coffers. But even long before Uhuru Kenyatta became president in 2013, Gachagua had worked closely with him, including as his personal assistant for 5 years.
Muko na William Ruto.
However, after crossing over to join President William Ruto, Rigathi went from being Kenyatta's confidant to one of his harshest critics. But the honest man would later apologize, saying it was, quote, foolish of him to have fought his own brother.
Ruto William Samoei.
His selection as the presidential running mate came as a shocker to many, but his boss, President William Ruto, defended his decision, saying that Gachagua is one of those leaders who are passionate about ordinary people. The bromance between the two has seemingly fizzled out over the years, barely halfway through the first term. He stands accused of corruption, money laundering, gross misconduct, insubordination and bullying public officers, and 6 other acts of wrongdoing. Following the Gen Z protests, Rigathi Gachagua did not mince his words when he blamed the Director General of the National Intelligence Service, NIS, Noordin Haji.
Had the National Intelligence Service briefed the President 2 months ago about how the people of Kenya feel about the Finance Bill 2024, so many Kenyans would not have died.
On the flip side, Gachagua, who has been the principal assistant to the president, has successfully chaired the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, IBEC. He has equally chaired several cabinet committees before things went south. Gachagua takes pride in resolving conflict issues in the counties, a responsibility he said had been given to him by the president. Gachagua has also sustained a spirited fight against illicit liquor in the country. He also did not shy away from talking about revival of coffee and tea sectors. Born in 1965 in central Kenya to the parents he says were well known for their struggle for freedom in the country, Gachagua has defended the Mount Kenya region. In fact, a common catchphrase associated with him has been, quote, "Don't touch the mountain," in reference to his support base in the Mount Kenya region. However, he has been accused of promoting tribalism as opposed to being a unifying figure. After completing his O and A levels, Gachagua attained a bachelor's degree in political science and literature from the University of Nairobi. He has also received paramilitary training from the Administration Police Institute. He served as a district officer, personal assistant to the head of public service in 1991. Between 2017 and 2022, Rigathi served as Mathera Member of Parliament. He became the second deputy president under the 2010 constitution. That the events of the last couple of weeks have changed his political trajectory is not a secret. But for the son of the mountain, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua, eyes will be on him to see the trajectory he takes for the remainder of the term. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, much appreciated, George Maringa, for that. And most definitely, all eyes on the Senate and even after the National Assembly. Speaking of the Senate, just a preview of what was happening yesterday night at around 11 p.m. there. If you slept early, let's listen in to what the Senate Speaker, Amason Kingi, had to say concerning the votes. Remember, the senators are voting individually on the 11 charges. Let's listen in to how that went down.
Ayes 54, nays 13, abstention 0. So the ayes have it. Charge number 2, ayes 28, nays 39, abstention 0. So the nays have it. Charge number 3, ayes 19, nays 45, abstention 3. So the nays have it. Charge number 4, the ayes at 51, nays at 16, abstention at 0. The ayes have it. Charge number 5, ayes 49, nays 16, abstention 2. So the ayes have it. Charge number 6, ayes at 48, nays at 18, abstention 1. So the ayes have it. Charge number 7, the ayes 13, nays 53, abstention 1. So the nays have it. Charge number 8, ayes 27, nays 40, abstention 0. So the nays have it. Charge number 9, ayes 46, nays 20, abstention 1. So the ayes have it. Charge number 10, ayes 22, nays 45, abstention 0. The nays have it. Charge number 11, the ayes 18, nays at 47, abstention 2. So the nays have it. On the institutional and decisional independence of judges. Ground number 5, gross violation of Articles 3.1 and 148(5)(a) of the Constitution and the fidelity to the oath of office and allegiance. Ground number 6, serious reasons to believe that His Excellency the Deputy President has committed crimes under sections 13(1)(a) and 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act.
Well, that is Amason Kingi, the Senate Speaker, and just giving a preview of what was happening yesterday night, blow by blow. Remember, we'll be sampling feedback from different parts of the country. So far, we've sampled Naivasha. So far, we've sampled Nyeri. Right now, I want to take you all the way to Nyanza region in Kisii County specifically. Alfaya Kombo there, branded with the flag as well as a T-shirt. Alfaya Kombo, I don't know, Kisii residents, do they say the same thing as the Naivasha and Nyeri residents, that they do not agree with this impeachment? What are they saying?
Okay, thank you very much, Stanley Nyaringita. I can get you very well from these sides of Kisii County. I'm in the Kisii main stage, whereby I have just interacted with some residents of Kisii County, and majority of them, they don't feel like what has just happened yesterday at exactly at 11:32, the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua wasn't quite good, or it wasn't a good thing. But with me, why should I use, why should I speak to in behalf of the residents? And while I have them here, nitakuwa nakukaribisha wewe kama mkazi, utueleze wewe kama mkazi ulihisije kuhusiana na swala ambalo litendeka jana saa 5:32 wakati Rigathi Gachagua aliweza kubanduliwa.
Kwa maoni yangu, kwanza kwa majina anaitwa Cyrus Benjamin. Mimi kama mkazi wa Kisii County, kwa maoni yangu ni kwamba Gachagua hakufanyiwa fair impeachment. Kwa vile tukielezwa vile impeachment ilikuwa inaendelea, tumeelezwa na wake kwamba alikuwa amekuwa mgonjwa, ndiposa akapelekwa hospitali. Ndiposa nikafikiria ni kwamba ingekuwa vyema angepewa nafasi aweze kuondoka hospitalini akiwa amepata nafuu, ndiposa apewe ile impeachment yake. Hata kama angekuwa anachukuliwa nyumbani ni sawa, angechukuliwa nyumbani, lakini angepewa nafasi akue mzima kwanza kutoka hospitalini, ndiposa hiyo motion iende through.
Pengine unahisi kwamba kulikuwa na utofauti kati ya bunge kuu na lile bunge la seneti?
Sidhani kama kulikuwa na utofauti, kwa vile bunge pia ilikuwa imeamua kwamba aende nyumbani na senate pia iliamua the same way.
Nikiuliza utofauti namaanisha kwamba kwa kusikiliza au fursa ambayo alikuwa amepewa Gachagua kuweza kumsikiliza ili waweze kumbandua.
Fursa nayo ilikuwa sawa, alipewa nafasi sawa. Hata wakati alikuwa amehitajika kuja kujitetea, alipatikana amekuwa mgonjwa kulingana na maelezo ya loa wake. Alipewa fursa sawa nao. Alipewa fursa sawa.
Naam, asante sana. Pengine tuweze kupata mkazi mwingine, tueleze wewe kama mkazi, pengine usonge nyuma kidogo tu, hisia zako ni zipi kuhusiana na kubanduliwa kwa Gachagua?
Mimi kwangu kwa majina ni James Nyekundi kutoka stage ya Kisii. Kutoka Kisii stage. Mimi kwa maoni yangu, kubanduliwa kwa Gachagua sioni kama ni vizuri, kwa sababu hii serikali waliunda na huyu Ruto. Hiyo angebanduliwa aende nyumbani, kwa vile sasa wamefanyia msaa sana. Kwa hivyo sioni kama Ruto kama angepata kura kama sio Gachagua. Kwenda kwake nyumbani sioni kama ni vizuri. Kwenda kukaa nyumbani na aende kuwa kama raia, hiyo sioni kama ni poa. Kwangu mimi naona hiyo ni alitendewa vibaya. Alitendewa kama unyama.
Pengine tuliona kwamba wananchi waliweza kutoa maoni yao pakubwa, wengi wao walionekana kama walikuwa wanapinga kuondolewa kwao. Je, unahisi kwamba maoni ya wananchi yaliweza kutiliwa maanani?
Maoni ya wananchi hakutiliwa maanani kwa sababu bunge ndio ilikuwa na uzito mkubwa kumbandua nje. Kwa hivyo sasa kama wangekuja kwa wananchi, Gachagua angeenda nyumbani, angebaki kuwa kwa serikali.
Je, sasa hivi tunaona kwamba tumeweza kumaliza. Je, unahisi kwamba Gachagua atakuwa anaelekea katika mahakama ili kuweza je, una imani na mahakama?
Hii nini, mahakama yetu ni kama imesikiliwa kabisa na huyo mkubwa. Kwa hivyo sioni kama haitakuwa haja, hata hakuna haja ya kwenda nini kwa koti, kwa maana koti tayari imemtupa. Kwa hivyo haitazingatia maoni yake.
Naam, asante sana. Pia tulizopata pia mzee hapa karibu. Je, wewe hisia zako ni zipi kuhusiana na swala zima la kubanduliwa kwa Rigathi Gachagua? Pengine usonga.
Mimi acha yangu kubwa ni ya kwamba ni ya kuleta amani. Amani katika nchi yetu ni vizuri, lakini sisi tunaendelea kujiuliza ya kwamba kama Gachagua kusema ukweli alifanya makosa, mbona wale ambayo alikosea wako kuja Senate? Tunaomba koti yetu, tunataka wale wasaidi, kama wanasema walikuwa shareholder, walikuwa na makampuni, hata wale wabunge wote walifanya makosa kuleta hiyo motion. Tunaomba wote waweze kukuja katika mbele ya koti. Kama ikiwezekana kweli hiyo kesi itaenda, kama hii kesi ikiingia katika koti. Wajaji wetu, mambo ikiharibika katika Kenya, nyinyi ndio watu wa kwanza kuulizwa. President wetu, jameni, ninakuomba, hii maneno ni yako hii. Hii ni maneno unatakana kutatua wewe peke yako. Tunakuomba ongea jambo kuliko hii mambo ikuenda mbele namna hii. Tunaomba makanisa yetu, jameni, hawa watu wote wanapiga siasa katika makanisa yenu. Kama tukikosa amani, jameni, katika dini zetu, tafadhali toa maoni ile ya kawaida, ile ambayo itaweza kusaidia watu. Kwa hivyo naomba mahakama yetu angalia hii jambo kwa ndani, muweze kujua ya kwamba Gachagua hakuna witness yoyote mwenye alikuja. Walisema walikuwa na shareholder, njia walitengeneza katika hii serikali. Tunajua ni wengi sana walijiandikisha chini. Tunajua na wao wengi wanasema ya kwamba Gachagua alinyang'anya ndugu zake mali. Tunaomba koti yetu, kama hii kitu kikiingia katika koti yetu, hawa watu wote msikize pande wote. Msikize hata yule mwenye anasema yeye amenyang'anywa. Msikize Gachagua maneno yeye na yeye pia anasema. Kwa hivyo ninaomba katika unyenyekevu wenu, kama wabunge walikataa kutuwakilisha mwema njia mwenye tuliwaambia, koti yetu fanya haki katika hii maneno.
Naam, asante sana. Pia tupate wa mwisho, tueleze wewe unahisije kuhusiana na swala zima la kubanduliwa kwa Rigathi Gachagua?
Sana mimi kwa majina yangu mimi naitwa Simon. Mkaaji wa Kisii. Sana hii kesi ya Gachagua na William Samuel Ruto, hawa watu walikuwa pamoja na tunataka wakae pamoja ndio tupata amani Kenya yetu. Sisi hatutaki vita tena, tunataka amani kwa nchi yetu. Gachagua, Ruto wakwe kimoja. Hiyo ndio maoni yangu.
Naam, asante sana Stanley Nyaringita. As you have just heard that those are the few sentiments of citizens from Kisii County, and those are just a few of the large magnitude of Kisii residents. But as you have heard, a majority number of them, they just feel like Rigathi Gachagua never got justice, and the Senate Parliament yesterday night whereby he was impeached. I don't have much to say, but just to pass the mantle back to you in studio, Stanley Nyaringita.
Asante sana Alfanya Kumba kutoka Kisii. Tutaendelea kupata mengi from your end, just to know as today continues, a lot of events really expected. And even as the residents there talking about how the deputy president, now former, was taken ill, let's listen in to what was said about this, then we come back.
It was after 1.5 hours lunch break at the Upper Legislative House when the Senate proceedings were forced to delay for a moment. Senate Speaker Amason Kingi pushed DP Rigathi Gachagua's legal representatives to provide his whereabouts, owing to the fact that his 2 hours allocated time was still rolling.
Your time started running at the time I requested you to usher in your witness.
Minutes after Senior Counsel Paul Mwite traversed along the corridors of the Senate, he came back with the shocking news to Speaker Amason Kingi and the senators.
That the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya has been taken sick, very sick, and as I address Mr. Speaker in this honorable House, senators, he is in hospital, Mheshimiwa Speaker. That is a sad reality.
Senior Counsel Paul Mwite explained that he had received the information on short notice and requested time to assess Gachagua's condition before proceeding, with Speaker Kingi agreeing to adjourn the session up to 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., Mwite told Senate he was not able to talk to the DP in person on the advice of doctors attending to him, as DP Gachagua was suffering from intense chest pain.
Wishes to subject himself to cross-examination. Wishes under oath to deal with the evidence given adverse to him by witnesses here, so that honorable senators can have an opportunity of making a decision. Is it the Deputy President we shall believe, or is it those other witnesses?
Prior to the cross-examination, Gachagua was supposed to appear and take the stand to testify against his 11 charges. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's lawyers, however, requested Kingi to postpone the impeachment trial to October 22nd of 2024 to acquire him time to recuperate before he appears before senators in person again.
That where the National Assembly or the President chooses not to appear before the Senate, that fact shall be put on record and the Senate shall proceed with its investigation without further reference to the National Assembly or the President.
The Senate, however, rejected the plea and decided to move forward with the trial. Gachagua's lawyers then walked out of the Senate after their request to postpone the impeachment trial was rejected.
It will result in the Speaker gazetting Saturday, the 19th of October 2024 as a sitting day to conclude the hearing and determination of this matter, this being the last day allowed by the Constitution of Kenya for these proceedings to conclude.
We as the legal team representing the Deputy President are not able to continue appearing without instructions, so we humbly and with a lot of respect take your leave, Mr. Speaker, and the leave of this honorable House. Thank you.
In his ruling after a brief consultation, Speaker Amason Kingi permitted senators to deliver their closing statements in Gachagua's impeachment trial, where he faces 11 charges. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, thank you very much, Mike Kagwango. Now, right now, so many questions are being asked considering the whole procedure. What happens next after the Senate impeached Rigathi Gachagua? So many questions on this. Let's take a look at this story first, and then we really get to understand constitutionally what happens next.
Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it.
It is this emphatic nay from senators to the motion of pushing Deputy President's impeachment hearing to this Saturday that sent DP Rigathi Gachagua's legal team to take their leave from this August House.
We as the legal team representing the Deputy President are not able to continue appearing without instructions.
The procedural motion for the adjournment of the hearing to Saturday was settled on with the Speaker of the Senate citing the 10 days provision by the Constitution in finalizing the matter.
Within 10 days from the date of the reading of the charges, which period in this case expires on Saturday the 19th of October 2024.
For a moment, confusion had reigned as to whether the impeachment trial against the Deputy President and the Senate would proceed. This following the Deputy President suddenly being taken ill just before he was accorded an opportunity to defend himself.
The Deputy President wishes to subject himself to cross-examination, wishes under oath to deal with the evidence given adverse to him by witnesses here, so that honorable senators can have an opportunity of making a decision. Is it the Deputy President we shall believe, or is it those other witnesses?
Hence the question of a fair trial to the Deputy President, who is now at the current hospital, ailing from intense chest pains, playing out, as well as the strict timelines surrounding the motion.
And if I can give evidence from the bar, he went to his office, and again, there's no evidence that he was evacuated in an ambulance.
Let's be humane. Let's be compassionate. Tuwe na utu kidogo. Tuesday, the heavens are not falling down to join with the earth.
This request by Senior Counsel Muite to the senators falling on deaf ears.
This Honorable Senate has accorded the Deputy President the opportunity for his counsel to be present, and they have voluntarily exited.
For the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, his fate at the Senate seems to have been sealed. Sheila Chelangat for TV 47.
Right, thank you very much, Sheila Chelangat, for that. And this particular story by Sheila Chelangat opens the lead on quite a number of questions constitutionally. What happens next? What should the president do? We'll be analyzing this. I'll be guided if we're going to be having online a couple of lawyers in a few, just to really understand what happens. According to Article 149, just to paraphrase this, the president must nominate a candidate to fill the vacancy within 14 days after it is declared. Right now it is 2 minutes past the top of the hour. According to the special sitting of the National Assembly, which was read out by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, the special sitting, the morning, should begin at around 30 minutes past 9 a.m. and then the afternoon session around 2:30 thereabout. So the next 28 or so minutes, the next 1 hour, is very, very crucial. We might just be seeing a gazette notice of a new DP nominee or not. This particular few minutes, 1 hour, is very crucial, and I'm going to be here with you. Do we have any of the Wakilis online so that we really talk to them? And even as we also anticipate that, President William Ruto is going to be in Kwale today for a whole program of affordable housing kind of a program. Again, President William Ruto has been silent. I'm being told online we do have Wakili Simba. Right, so before Wakili Simba, hold on the line there. And even, dear viewer, usiende mbali, weka remote hapo kando. We're taking a short break. Kunywa maji kidogo. We'll be back to help you understand all this. We'll be back.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora.
In case you're just joining us, karibu sana. We are unpacking for you what really happened yesterday, the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. And online we do have Wakile Simba. Wakile, very good morning to you. We've been talking to you for weeks now concerning this particular bit. As you chime in on this, let me read you a quote by Senator Okiya Omtatah that he said yesterday. He said, and I quote, "The process was flawed. We applied the process of removing the president on the deputy president without modifying it as required by the Constitution." Help us understand. What does Okiya Omtatah mean on this?
You see, it is just basically his interpretation of the law. And you see, the law, we look at the Constitution, which is the grand norm. The Constitution under Article 145 has read together with Article 150 provides the procedure and timelines upon which such a motion to impeach the deputy president is to be conducted. Now, one of such is Article 145, Sub-Article 3, which provides that upon receipt of the motion to impeaching the president from the National Assembly, a committee is formed. And this committee is to hear and determine investigate and pass a resolution to impeach or not to impeach the president within 10 days. Considering that the committee was formed on the 9th, the time frame would lapse on Saturday this week. Okay. But allow me to also unpack the meaning of a committee. Yes. The Constitution is very clear that a committee of 11 can be formed. But that is not the only committee. A committee can be a committee of 11 or the committee of the whole House.
Right.
Committee of the whole House here means the plenary. And so if it is the plenary, then we have to go with the confines, or we call it the dictates of Article 145, Sub-Article 3, right, which actually had very stringent timelines. Okay. Now, looking at the rules of natural justice, the right to be heard as enshrined under Article 50 of the Constitution, which is an underogable right, we look at what the law provides. You can choose to appear physically to be interrogated and to give your evidence. But again, we must look at it from the point that he already had a defense by replying to the pleadings or the motion that was tabled by the National Assembly. Right. And all his evidence were on record.
Okay.
Now, there are times we dispense with physical appearance when you choose to. We can choose to move by way of pleadings.
Okay.
And the only detriment that this would occasion is that the other party, which is the National Assembly, will have not gotten a chance to impeach the credibility of the deputy president,
Right.
which was actually working to their disadvantage. But they chose to go with that.
Okay.
And you can choose to rely on those documents. And then if there is any affidavit, your advocates will produce such documents.
Right.
Then the other thing is that the power or the discretion to prolong a sitting or to adjourn the House for another day is also on the Parliament. That is the National Assembly. When it is in the National Assembly, in this case, we are talking about the Senate.
Okay.
A motion was moved, and the same was defeated.
Okay.
So if it was about fairness and procedure, it was to be governed by the Constitution, any subsidiary legislation, or in this case now the standing orders of the Senate.
Okay.
You look at the standing orders, the Senate has elaborately provided for the procedures of impeaching a deputy president. So
right,
from
but-
where I stand,
Okay.
I strongly believe that it will be a very hard task to question that process on that ground, considering that the process is governed by the Constitution
Right.
and the standing orders, and the motion to adjourn was also defeated by the Parliament.
Okay. But does the Constitution anticipate for the deputy president, or in this case maybe a president, to probably fall sick during the hearing of an impeachment motion?
Now, no one anticipated, and the Constitution didn't anticipate this. But you see, these are things that happen every day in court. A witness may fall sick. And how do you ascertain that a witness has fallen sick? You provide documents to that effect. Then a request can be made if you have, because you see, the one principle of evidence law is that he who alleges must prove. So you must provide medical reports to move the court to adjourn in your favor, and it is within the discretion of the court, and also depending on the notices you were given. So we didn't anticipate that a time like this would come when a deputy president would fall sick at the eve of giving his hearing. But then again, we also have to look at the law vis-a-vis the Constitution and the procedures in court, as well as the Senate.
Right. Wakili, naturally the impeachment process is political. And you remember on that Monday evening when Deputy President was addressing the nation, it seemed that his eyes had already focused on the courts as well. Now, a lot of holes would be poked on the legal battle on this one. Explain to us what you expect on when the legal team for Rigathi Gachagua is going to be presenting itself in front of the courts.
Thank you so much. The courts are open to review the decisions of the Senate or of the National Assembly, in this case the Senate. And the courts will be looking at the procedures, where the procedures faltered, starting from the public participation, going to the notice that was issued before the public participation, whether the public participation was conducted in within the dictates of the law. We will also be looking at possible conflicts of interest. You see that was raised by the counsels for the deputy president. We shall also be looking at this new lacuna that has been brought up by the deputy president falling sick, and we'll be looking at it vis-a-vis the right to be heard, whether you can proceed with documents, whether you have to proceed physically and give your testimony. We will also be looking at the time frames that have been given in the Constitution and the interpretation of Article 145. You see, there was the argument that Article 145.3 does not apply to the deputy president. On one hand, and there was another argument that the article that applies to the deputy president is Article 145.6, which actually was very open when it comes to days. So we shall be looking at these constitutional questions being presented. But as we already saw, the courts will be very hesitant to inject a process of of another arm of government. The process may take time, But definitely, it will not surprise me if I see a new deputy president come in and is sworn in without any conservatory orders issued. Because one question that the peace councils must grapple with is now the status quo. What is the status quo as per now? The status quo is that the deputy president is now former. He is no longer in office and the same has been gazetted. So when you go to court for the status quo to be maintained, it simply means that the status quo as at now is that the deputy president, the former deputy president is no longer the deputy president, if that is correct.
Right.
The other thing is that we will also be looking at the entire substance. So we'll be looking at the substance and also the degree and the degree of persuasion or the burden of proof and the degree of proof. As in criminal cases, it should be beyond reasonable doubt. But you see, when you look at the impeachment process, it is not given such a degree, but it is slightly above probability, that which is provided for in civil law. So we will also want to look at that vis-a-vis what has gone, what has transpired this week. One thing you must notice is that the law is very, very clear on procedures. And the law is also very, very clear on substance of a petition. But again, you must look at it from the point of a political process and a tool that has been given. The impeachment is a tool that has been given to Parliament to oversight. And as Mutuse said, it is not his responsibility to investigate on a matter. What happens is that he has to move the court beyond balance of probability, but not beyond reasonable probability. So those are things that the court will be grappling with as they look at the entire process of impeaching the deputy president.
Right. Wakili, help our viewers understand this morning when you talk about this status quo. So hypothetically, by next week, the deputy president, we have a new deputy president, and the Rigathi Gachagua is in court trying to understand this whole status quo. As you mentioned, his status is as former right now. So what happens in this case if the courts nullify this particular impeachment?
Thank you so much. If the court is moved to nullify the impeachment process for reasons that it did not conform to the procedures, that the deputy president was not even given fair hearing, then I think from where I stand, the deputy president can only benefit from getting damages. That is, if the process is if the process goes beyond 2027, so he can get.
So he can't regain back his seat.
It will be very difficult, but let's wait and see on the interpretation, because one thing you must appreciate, Stanley, is that once a deputy president is removed, court process normally are protracted. Even if it will be, even if they will move the court very fast, the National Assembly and the Senate still have the right to appeal to the Court of Appeal and to the Supreme Court. Now, the only advantage that holding or that ruling in his favor would bring to him is that now the stringent measures of not being allowed to vie or to hold any public office will be lifted. And he can easily vie when 2027 comes or even in subsequent elections. That is number one. But coming back to the office, it may be very difficult. We've seen even in employment matters, the court may direct you to be reinstated, but you cannot force an employer to work with someone that they do not want to work with. But we will want to see how this will be unfolding and being unpacked by the court. It is a new area. It is an area that we look with high hopes to get jurisprudence, and most importantly, to move the parliament to enact laws that seem to have very many lacunas. Remember, any decision that is made by parliament or any body must be consistent with the constitution. And any law that is found to be inconsistent with the constitution is to be declared null and void. So that is the threshold and that is the lens upon which we have to look at this entire impeachment proceedings and even the aftermath of the proceedings.
All right. Wakili, the wheels are moving so fast. Things are moving quite fast. In a few moments, I think about 10 minutes from now, we do expect the National Assembly to have its special sitting. One of the major things that we are eyeing from the National Assembly is probably debating a name. Now, talk to us about the timelines according to the Constitution. Article 149, preferably, on what it talks about. What what should the president be doing right now?
Thank you so much. Article 149, read it, Article 148, and all that which pertains the replacement of a deputy president. One, if a deputy president, like in this case, the communication has already been made to the president and a gazette notice has been done to that effect, meaning that the office is vacant. The president has 14 days upon which he is to nominate his deputy. And it is within 14 days, not after. So you must understand that. Okay. Within 14 days simply means from the time he received this notice. He can even do it in the next 1 minute or 2 minutes or even 3 minutes. And you've seen the efficiency that political processes carry. They are moved with a lot of speed and precision. So the president may even front that name today. And if the same is done, then Parliament have 60 days to consider that name. Within 60 days, so that they can even do it today, provided they are within the time frame and the timelines of the Constitution. And once that is done, the deputy president will be approved and he'll be holding office as the deputy president of Kenya. So currently, everything is happening within the law. The gazette notice has already been issued. There is a special sitting that is to take place today, and most probably that name will be fronted. And you'll not be surprised if the same is approved today.
And in the spirit of following the law, do you expect to see a public participation? Because we've seen it happening. So do you expect to see a public participation on the same? How long should it take? What's the process? And then putting in mind that Monday is a public holiday, or we wait to see again for the gazettement of that, but then we also anticipate the public holiday after the Mashujaa Day. So help us understand for this particular period, if hypothetically the name is gazetted today and discussed today, what kind of process do we expect, more so for the public participation?
Thank you so much. You see, the honors of approving or disapproving a nominee by the president is on the National Assembly. And the National Assembly, from my understanding, they are the representation of the electorate. Remember, Article 1 on sovereignty of the people, the same can be exercised either directly or indirectly through our elected representatives. And this is something that we have seen in the past. But again, if there is anything to do with the integrity of the person that will be nominated, then it will be very necessary to conduct public participation and to have members of the public do memos, do write-ups to the effect or to disapprove or to approve a person, and the same must be considered by the National Assembly. But again, that is another thing, because you see, when we come to when we look at public participation is dependent on every given circumstances. It's not cast on stone that it should be done this way. These are the time frames. The public participation will depend on the busyness of the House. If it is a bill, for example, the time frames upon which a bill is to be considered is very long because of the readings. But when you look at now, for example, the impeachment of a deputy president, it is time-bound, within 10 days. So the same cannot apply uniformly. We will see on how the government, the parliament, will be fronting that as well. But again, as I told you, the same can also be challenged in court.
All right. Wakili, before I let you go, help us understand what a deputy president should be constitutionally, even without really touching the whole politics of it, because so far we've heard from close allies of the Kenya Kwanza government fronting a couple of names. So out of all these names that I know you have had, constitutionally, what should they have achieved?
Basically, one is that they must have the qualifications of a president. Remember, when a president, something is to happen, is to assume that office. So that is number one. Must be a Kenyan citizen. And he must satisfy Chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity. The other thing is that, of course, now the criminal record has to be looked at. He must also be qualified, and the qualification is the academic qualifications. So these are some of the things that we will be looking at. And most importantly, we will be looking at the Chapter 6 of the Constitution. That is with regards to the legal aspect of it. But when you look at the political aspect of it, it will be someone that the president can work with to deliver the mandate that he has in the Constitution. So he must be someone whose ideology they agree to. And again, that is something that we will wait to hear. There are so many names that have been fronted, but that can only be confirmed by the president by fronting such a name.
Oh, yes. Wakili, I think finally, so that I can really let you have your good morning and also Mashujaa Day kind of a mood, as we really anticipate even more to happen. So far, a number of impeachment motions have been brought before the upper house, and the senators have debated on them. For the first time, for the deputy president. Before, we've had deputy governors as well as governors. As an advocate of the High Court, what do you expect to see in future, even for the governors, the kind of mood and the kind of how they're going to be debating on this? Now the fact that they have debated for deputy president, I mean, this is big even for them. What do you expect? Do you expect to see more, some of these 11 charges even being copy-pasted to other state officers?
Thank you so much. We all appreciate that an impeachment process is both legal and political. So it looks at the grounds, it looks at the numbers as well. And the numbers normally are whipped. But now there are so many lessons that we've learned from this impeachment. There are so many gray areas. For example, the standing orders may even be may be even enhanced to deal with an eventuality like this of the deputy president, where he allegedly fell ill at the eve of his hearing. So maybe the standing orders may expressly provide for procedures in such instances, and maybe incorporate the use of documents in such proceedings. Because now we were going back to the Constitution and borrowing from the civil procedure. So going forward, the Senate would want to look at that with a lot of precision. Mm-hmm. Number two is the possibility of enactment of a Public Participation Act, because the same is, we only rely on precedent. There is no clear legislation that provides for what happens in public participation. So that is something that the National Assembly also ought to look at, and the Senate ought also to pay keen attention on that. But last but not least, we are likely to see a president, because you see, one thing that I mentioned before is that laws are not for the present, they are for the future. And when you make laws, you don't make them out of convenience. Make them believing and understanding that you are but a trustee, and the same law may apply to you. So if this is the threshold that will be used to remove a deputy president, then I totally believe that in somewhat the same would be on a very slightly a lower note. But that is something that we leave to the Senate to grapple with.
Most definitely. Wakili Peter Simba, who are you celebrating for Mashujaa Day, by the way?
I'll be celebrating Mashujaa Day. I'll be going to Sindo.
Okay.
Because for the first time, we will be having our Mashujaa Day celebrated at Sindo Nyakiamo Stadium. We just got a new sub-county, and we are very excited. We are going to Sindo to celebrate it. So I'll be traveling over to Sindo and to just witness this historical Mashujaa Day for the first time at Sindo.
Asante sana, Wakili Peter Simba, an advocate of the High Court. Thank you very much for your wise words in helping us understand the constitutional procedures after the impeachment of a deputy president. On your screen, as you can see right about now, is the National Assembly. The members of Parliament are streaming in one by one and are very, very eager. As you can see, they're not yet seated. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, has not yet arrived, so you can tell with the banter there that what is really anticipated in this particular National Assembly. About 2 days ago, the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, had briefed the members of Parliament that they're going to be having a special sitting today for the morning session beginning at 9:30 a.m. and for the afternoon session beginning at 2:30 p.m. This particular session was, and this motion was moved by the minority whip, that is Osoro. And according to Osoro, this basically is just to recover some lost time during the Mazingira Day. And just let me read you a couple of bills that is expected for this particular day. The sugar bill, the water bill, Division of Revenue Management bill, the national rating bill. This is to be discussed. But then the elephant in the room today, new deputy president nominee. We wait to see, all eyes and ears at the National Assembly. Even as we take a short break, we'll be back with Senda Mbali.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.